Sister. Tonight we come to the final moment of this mission, not an ending, but ascending. Over these days we have listened, prayed, reflected, and perhaps been stretched in ways we did not expect. We have been invited to see more clearly, to love more deeply, and to respond more faithfully. And through it all, one voice has helped guide us, steady, thoughtful, and grounded in the gospel. It is a gift for us to welcome once more Sister Dorothy Ederer. Sister Dorothy has not simply spoken to us, she has walked with us. She has helped us name what matters, challenged us where we may have grown comfortable, and reminded us that faith is never something we keep to ourselves. It always moves outward into the life of the world. Tonight, as she offers this final reflection, we listen not just for inspiration, but for direction. Because the true measure of this mission will not be what we have heard, but what we will now do. How we will live differently, how we will build community, how we will become, in real and concrete ways, a bridge of hope. So let us open our hearts once more, ready to receive, ready to be sent. And so please join me in welcoming Sister Dorothy. Welcome.
Am I now? Yes. I'd like to begin with a reading from Colossians, chapter 3, verses 12 to 17. Because you are God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourself with heartfelt mercy, with kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another. Forgive whatever grievance you have against one another. Forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. Above all these things, put on love, which binds us together and makes us perfect. Christ's peace must reign in our hearts, since as members of one body, we are all called to that peace. Dedicate your lives to gratefulness. Let the word of Christ, rich as it is, dwell in you. Instruct and admonish one another. Sing gratefully to God in psalms, hymns, and inspired songs. Whatever you do, whether in speech or in action, do it in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God our Father. The word of the Lord. Thanks. Okay, we're going to start tonight. It's all about healing. So today I've gotten emails from people who said, thanks for your prayers. My brother's out of the hospital. Thank you for my prayers. My so-and-so has been released. He's better now. The surgery went well. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then I met a woman that came in here and said, I need to tell you what happened to me. And so I'm going to have her come and speak at the end probably and share her story of her healing, which just kind of blows me out of the water that there's so much healing going on right now, which always makes me happy, okay? Whenever people ask for prayers and I get the nuns praying, I go, okay, you got to get on this one, girls. And then they'll call me a couple days later and they said, boy, your nuns are really right on there, girl, you know? And so that makes me happy whenever I see people get better. So, the deer is a symbol of healing, but I will restore you to health and heal the wounds, declares the Lord. Deers are very symbolic in my life too. The deer moves with grace, gentleness, and quiet strength. In Scripture, the psalmist says, as the deer longs for running water, so my soul longs for you. That's one of my favorite songs. We all long for God. Just as the deer seeks fresh water to refresh and store its body, we too seek God to refresh and heal our souls. The deer is a creature that knows how to find stillness, to rest with flowing water, and to move peacefully throughout the forest. Spiritually, it reminds us that healing often comes not through force or hurry, but with patience, peace, and trust in God's care. In gentleness, it's a picture of God's tender touch, restoring what is wounded, calming what is anxious, and bringing strength to continue the journey. The deer reminds us that true healing comes from drawing near to the source of life. where our spirits are renewed. Through healing, God restores what has been broken, bringing wholeness to our bodies, minds, and spirit.
It's hard to see the storm blowing over anytime soon. It's hard to hear any hope in the headlines or how to know what's true. We've been trusting in the broken to make us whole, but there's no new rescue coming. It's still the one we've always known. We need the healer. We don't need another hero. We need the healer. Deep down every hurting heart knows we need the healer. And only Jesus is the healer. The whole world's looking for something, but what we need is someone. And every road leads back to one name when all the searching is done. 'Cause there's no worldview, no religion that can make the blind eye see. Let the eyes of our heart be open to the healing that we need. We need the healer. We don't need another hero. We need the healer. Deep down every hurting heart knows we need the healer. And only Jesus is the healer. More than comfort, we need the King. More than gifts, we need the giver. More than blessings, we need your presence. More than the healing, we need the healer. More than comfort, we need the King. More than gifts, we need the giver. More than blessings, we need your presence. More than the healing, we need the healer. More than comfort, we need the King. More than gifts, we need the giver. More than blessings, we need your presence. More than the healing, we need the healer. We don't need another hero. We need the healer. Deep down every hurting heart knows we need the healer. 'Cause only Jesus is the healer. Yes, we need the, yes, we need the healer. No other name but Jesus is the healer. Come now, Jesus, be the healer.
The meaning of healing. Healing is more than mending of the body. It's the restoration of the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. True healing touches the places unseen where pain, fear, or loss have taken root. It is the gentle movement of God's grace bringing peace where there was turmoil and hope where there was despair. To be healed is to be made whole again, to rediscover harmony with oneself, with others, and with God. Sometimes healing comes through miracles and medicine. Other times, it arrives through forgiveness, love, and acceptance. It may not always mean illness disappears, but that peace fills the heart despite it. Healing reminds us that we are never alone. God walks beside us in our suffering and breathes life into what feels broken or forgotten. In His presence, we find renewal, strength, and courage to begin again. I'll get this to work. Okay. I'm going to share a few stories that happened just recently in the last month. And this is a cousin that I finally met, that I hadn't met. And she came up to me, and it was at a family reunion, and all the people that you hadn't seen for years, come to the family reunion. And she came over, and then she said, "Oh, Aunt Dorothy, I hear that you write books." And she said, "My son's got a story for you." And he said, yeah, you ought to hear my story. And he shared it, so I'm just fresh getting to know this story well enough. But anyways, she was pregnant with her son, okay? And she went to see the doctor, and the doctor says to her, after he examines her, he said, get on the phone and start making reservations. He called your relatives, and she says, for what? He said, you have a funeral to make. She goes, a funeral to make? Am I dying, or is he dying? He goes, well, for what? She said, the baby. She goes, the baby? Now, they had her, you see where they had that rope around her, and that little box there is to know the heartbeat of the child. So the heart is beating. And the nurse says, but the heart is beating. He goes, take that belt off. She goes, but the heart is beating. Take that belt off. Well, he's the doctor, so she has to. He said, my shift is ending. I got to get out of here, and I want you to take that. She says, and he goes, do what I tell you. So she takes the belt off, and she goes in the other room and finds a doctor that's coming in on the next term, right? So he comes in, and she goes, he wanted me to take it off, and he goes, so he walks in, and he said, I'm not God, and the other doctor's not God. We don't know if the baby will make it, but I'm going to break your water, and we'll see what happens. That baby was born within seconds. 2 minutes, the baby was born. It weighed 1 pound, 6 ounces, and it lived. It is crying, and the doctor goes, okay, this has never happened before, right? 1 pound and 6 ounces. Now, this baby is so tiny that it was like a small water bottle, okay? The baby's body went into his dad's ring. That's how tiny he was. Now, his skin hadn't quite reformed yet on his body, but the doctor wished him right away into NICU, okay? The head doctor the other guy came in. He was a head doctor from Taiwan. And he said, I've come here to the United States to take care of these for people that nobody wants to take care of. This baby, I'm going to do everything in my power to make this child live. And the mother was like, really? So he said, babies before 26 weeks never live, but we try to save them, but let's see what will happen. So then the doctor checks him over, and he said, he needs heart surgery. So they go in to give him heart surgery. Not only that, they removed his appendix, and they removed 18 inches of his intestines. That's a lot. Then the doctor said, I think he needs a baptism, so call the priest. So this priest I know, he comes in, and he sees this little baby, that's just like right here. And he was like, blesses it really quick, and he runs out because he was so scared. He turned white. He almost passed out. That people were more concerned about him because he got sick there. And he said, I've never in my life seen a baby so small, and he just flew like that and left. Every surgery after that was like a nightmare for the family. They didn't know what they were going to do next. Then they poked, they prod, they did this, they did that, and then another doctor came in and said, oh, I just checked his eyes. His retina is going to fall apart unless we have surgery on it because it's burning. So he said, I have to watch him for every step of the way. This kid is here for a reason. God has a plan for this child, and I'm not giving up. Now, he wasn't the doctor. He was the doctor on the other floor, on the second floor. But he would come down at night and check on this little kid very much, every time. He said, I'm not giving up on you. And, the little kid, he doesn't know anything, right? He's what's going on. And he said, I made a decision to save you, and I won't give up until I do everything in my power to save you. That's why I'm a doctor. So the retina was on fire, so he needed laser surgery for the retina so it doesn't detach. So they did surgery on that. So off he went to this other hospital because the surgeon that does eyes wasn't there. So they had to transfer him to another hospital. So he gets to the other hospital. They take care of that and everything. And then he was doing fine. He was eating and resting. And then all of a sudden they said, well, he's got to stay here. We're going to leave him here. And then he almost died. So the mother said, no, you got to take him back to the other hospital. And the doctor said, no. And she said, you either take him back to the other hospital or you got a lawsuit on your hand. He goes, okay. So he takes him back to the other hospital. When he gets him back to the other hospital, the doctors and everybody came out and they said, I can't believe this kid is still alive. And he was breathing just and everything. It's a miracle. He said, he doesn't need any more machines or any medications. The kid is doing well. The only thing he has a problem with, he wears glasses now, right? Because he has problems with his sight. But that's all that's wrong with him. And I said to him, wow, you're a walking miracle. He goes, yeah, Aunt Dorothy, I really am. And I go, he said, can I share my story with you? So that's how I get stories, right? People share their miracles. And how do you say no to a child who's so excited he's alive? And to see what he went through, it's amazing what some people have to go through. And this Mr. Miraculous. So I'm at my sister's place in Saginaw, and we go to church, and they have like coffee, donuts after. And I'm sitting at this table, and this lady sits down, and she starts talking to my sister and I, and she knew my sister and all this stuff. And then she says something about he was serving coffee. She goes, oh, do you know who he is? And I said, no. She goes, that's Mr. Miraculous. Now, he didn't have that T-shirt on that day, right? And he came around pouring coffee, and he was laughing and joking. And I said, so are you Mr. Miraculous? And he goes, yeah, girl, I am, He poured me coffee, and he said, you have no idea what I've been through. He said, it's a miracle I'm here today. And I go, really? And she says, she writes books. You should share her story with her, So he says, are you sure you want my story? I said, sure I do, if you want to be willing to share it. I was blown out of the water when he shared it. But this is what happened before. He ran 3 miles. He kayaked for 4 miles. He biked 9 miles. It was a great day for him. It was great condition. The next day he comes home. He was a little tired out from all that. No kidding, he's in his 70s. I would be a little tired too, right? And he had AFib, a heart condition, right? So they had to take him to the hospital to have that checked. Well, he gets into the hospital, and they're there for a couple hours because of all this procedure they have to do. So you understand what I'm talking about, right? I can tell you're looking like, yeah, I got it. And I'm not familiar with this, so I learned a lot. And he gets there, and then they're examining him, and then the doctor, I didn't know this, but when we're born, we have a hole in the bottom of our heart. Does everybody know that? Do all of you know that? Oh, I didn't know that. So what the doctor was, checking him over, he punctured not the place where he punctured his aorta, and blood started squirting out. Unbelievable. His wife gets a phone call, and it says, your husband is bleeding profusely. We don't know why or where from where, but we're taking him back for emergency surgery, and hangs up on him. So she's like, what? So they took him to the ICU, but he went from, his blood pressure dropped to under 30. Now, anybody in a nurse here or a doctor? Okay, well, if you're not, then but the blood pressure dropped to under 30. They pumped him with all this liquid to keep his blood pressure up. He went from 212 pounds to 238 pounds. They had cut the aorta because of the blood clot, and they tried to seal it, but the blood was coming out, and she said, he's not going to make it. And this woman said, yes, he has to make it. And his daughter said, oh, Daddy can't die yet. And so the doctor goes, well, I'm doing everything I can in my power, But he was kind of upset that, you know how things, like when you make a mistake, it's on your hands, right? But so anyway, the bleeding, they had no idea where that bleeding was come from until the one nurse came in and she said, oh, it's coming from his aorta, let's do this. And so she glued it together or patched it up and everything so that it stopped bleeding. This man, his blood ran back through the heart and saw that it was now at a normal function. And he was normal again and breathing well, and everything was fine. And he said, if the cardiac surgeon was not there on call that night, I would have never made it. If the doctor who did the ablation would not have given me the blood thinner, I would not be here. And if the cardiac surgeon hadn't walked down with me after my first surgery, I wouldn't be here. Every single member of the hospital had to work to perform harmony before me in order for me to survive. And the one nurse that was there, she said, I've been working here for 20 years, and I have never seen anything like this. Now, I know I've been in the hospital with people that supposedly were dying, and people go, Dorothy, you got to get in there and help, And I'm like, now, my brother is a charismatic person, okay? He's the one that's by ritual. And he worked for the charismatic movement, and he's a healer. He is a healer. I mean, I've seen things happen that I'm like, John, and he goes, Dorothy, he never wants to talk about it. No, he always downplays everything that he does. He's very humble. But me, I have to like brag about him sometimes. So anyways, that's his story. Now this is my brother John. This is later in the years, this before he died. But what happened to him when he was in his 50s, in his newly part of his life, he had an infection in his foot. And the infection went up to his leg, and it was going up, and they didn't know what to do to heal it. And so my mom said to me, she said, oh, John's in the hospital. You might want to stop and see him. Well, I was on my way to Detroit to go on this retreat. And I go, Mom, I'll stop and see him before I get there. So I go in, and I said, and I see the doctor there, and I go, is everything okay? And he goes, I'd like to talk to you first. So I step out of the room, and I go, what's going on? He goes, I need to warn you. Your brother, I might have to amputate his leg tomorrow. I go, no, you can't. He's got so much work to do. I mean, he does this and this and this. And he said, I'm telling you, he has got to have his leg amputated tomorrow morning. I go, does he know this? He goes, well, I told him, we'll see how it is tomorrow, and then I'll decide what has to be done. So I said, he didn't hear you tell him this? So I go in, and I said to John, how you doing? You know, and I'm talking, and I said, John, I know you're going to have surgery tomorrow. I said, can I pray over your knee? Now, I'm not a healer like my brother is, okay? So I said, John, can I pray over your knee with you? And he goes, sure, Dort, you know. So I take up my hand, and I lay it on his knee, and I said, John, put your hand there too. So I'm praying, and a tingling sensation goes up my arm, just, and I'm like, and I don't say anything to him, but I just kept feeling these vibes going up my arm, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? So I said, John, I think you're going to be okay. But I didn't tell him what the doctor had said to me. I said, Johnny, I hope you're going to be okay. Just call me and let me know how you're going to do tomorrow, okay? And he said, sure. Now, he didn't have a cell phone with him, okay? So I get up there on the retreat the next morning, and it was noon, and I came back to see if he had called, right? And my phone rings, and I look at it, and it's his home phone. And so, typical sister, I said, John, are you home? You're calling? He said, well, I'm calling from my home phone. That would say that I'm home, wouldn't it? And I go, okay, smarty, you know. And he said, yeah. And I go, you're home? I said, what happened? He goes, the doctor couldn't believe it. He comes in and he goes, I don't know what you did last night, but you don't have to have surgery. It's gone. He goes, it's gone. And he said, Dorothy, whatever was the cancer or whatever I had in there he doesn't have to amputate my leg. I go, John, God's not done with you yet. He's got more for you in store. He goes, I know, Dorothy, I know. And I went to the retreat, and I sat there, and I had tears in my eyes. I just kept thinking, God, you still work miracles today. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes in your life you think, is he really still doing miracles today? You know what I mean? And yet, I can honestly say it's not a week that goes by that I don't get a call from a student or a parishioner or somebody asking me for prayers or telling me, you won't believe what just happened. And people are now asking for signs, because my friend over there, she asked for a sign, and I talked about eagles. Remember my brother? She has eagles. And then her daughter was playing golf the other day. She got an eagle. So she came home saying, I got an eagle. It's a different kind of eagle, but, it was kind of a joke. So she said, my husband's with us, so I just want you to know that. So anyway, and I wrote a book about his life. Okay, now we're going to get into the scriptures and talk about some of the people. Now, Peter, his mother-in-law, naturally, he's got to heal her because the apostles are going to go walking with him. They're going to go out on the mission with him. And he says, well, my mother-in-law, I got to, if I'm going to be gone on the road all the time, you got to heal her. So Jesus says, no problem. She was running a fever, and a typical woman in those days, she gets healed, she gets up, she waits on him, gets him a snack, and has to take care of everything. How many saw The Chosen, and you saw that scene, right? I just love The Chosen, because it just, to me, epitomizes what Jesus would have been doing at that time in life. So it's a great movie. And then the paralytic, and in The Chosen, how they wanted to have him healed, so they even, and on being over in the Holy Land, when I was there, we went to visit some people, and they have their animals live downstairs, and they live upstairs. So they have thatch roofs too, so you can go through the roof and you could get down to the bottom easily, right? So when I saw that over there in the Holy Land years ago, and then the Chosen come out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been to a place like that. I know what that feels like. So it was just so exciting for me to see that what happened way back then is what they're talking about today, right? So it was an interesting thing. But then he heals this man who is paralyzed. So, I mean, I just amazed. And then the blind man. In the Gospel of John, Jesus heals a blind man who'd been blind since birth by putting mud on his eyes. I had a girl, and as a friend, and she has lost sight in her one eye. And she said, Dorothy, the doctor said I'm going to go blind. I just lost sight in my one eye. I go, well, as long as you got one eye you can see, be happy that you have at least one eye. And she says, well, pray that I don't go blind in this eye. I go, don't worry, we're going to all pray for you. So I said to the nuns, I'll pray for her. She can't go blind in both eyes. She's got to have one eye to see. We're on it, Dort. I mean, our nuns are a powerhouse of prayer because I have seen more miracles when I ask them to pray with me. It's like they're behind me 100%, and they'll go, who do you want us to pray for now, Dort, now? And that's my nickname in the community. And I just will tell them, could you pray for so-and-so? And they'll say, we're on it. And then they said, let us know how the person is. And then I always call and let them know how the person has gotten better. And 99% times, they're all better. I mean, everybody's improved. I'm going to have my nuns praying for you too, okay? So just watch out. You'll be dancing the next time I see you. No. Hopefully. Okay. The deaf man. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus heals a deaf man with a speech impediment by putting his fingers in his ears, touching his tongue, and commanding him to be healed. I had a student that was going deaf, and he says, I can't hear things, but I'll do Braille. And so he said, I have a friend, she can come. And these were 8th graders. And I thought, you guys, you need to know that there are people that can't hear, and you need to know what Braille is like and how they communicate. So this girl comes to the class, and she gives them all a piece of Braille, it was a little quote from Scripture. She made them up for them and gave it to the kids, and she read it with them and told them to have their fingers go along with it. And I did too, and I learned, and then she said to them, close your eyes and just listen to the sounds around you. What do you hear? And then it was dead silence, and the kid says, I hear cars running, and I do this, I hear this. She says, let your ears tell you what you are hearing here. Your sight cannot always tell you, but your ears can tell you. So as long as you have your hearing, you can hear what's going on. And that's why Jesus wanted him to hear the message of Jesus. So he cured him. Okay. The leper. The Gospel of Luke, Jesus heals a leper who cried out for mercy. He also healed 10 lepers, and only one came back to give thanks. I worked with Mother Teresa and I went with a delegation from Washington. We went to India. And I'm here in the different villages, and my job was to teach the kids about Jesus. So I showed my little magic trick when I made that little, that little cross. Well, I showed that to the kids, and they thought they were just, how little kids are. They're running around showing everybody, well, Mommy, wait till you see what we did. And the parents were excited because their kids were happy. But when I came into the village, I was a Dominican, so I was in white. I'm fair, blue eyes, blonde hair. They don't have anybody in India that's blonde, blue eyes, and fair skin. So I come running down the hill, because when I was with the delegation in Washington, we're going by the leper colony. I go, you guys, I've always wanted to go to a leper colony. I said, I used to read about Father Damien and what he did. But they go, well, you can go by yourself because we're not going there. So they dropped me off, and they said, we'll pick you up in an hour. So I go running down the hill, and they all go, oh. They thought I was a ghost. They thought I was a ghost. And the little kids go, oh, and they're hugging their mother like this. They go, no, I come to pray with you. I come to pray with you. And they looked at me, and I go, I'm okay, it's okay. And the little kids go, and they kept looking. And one girl went up, and she kind of like touched, and I said, you can touch my hand. And so they were kind of goofing around then. And I said to them, show me around your village and show me what you do, and so that I know what, and they said, we'll take you to our little chapel. I didn't say I was a sister. I don't think I told them I was a sister. I told them I was Dorothy from the States, okay? And they were surprised that someone from the state would even want to come and visit them. In fact, the people I were with thought I was crazy, but that's me. And so I get down there, and they take me into their chapel, and I said, and it had an odor that it was not very good, right? So I said, oh, how did you make this? They said, cow dung and sticks. I go, okay, and when it gets real warm in here, do you come? Well, no, sometimes we can't go in there when it gets warm because it smells, you know. I go, yeah, okay, I understand that. So we prayed for a while in there, and we left, and they were so excited that I went in there with them, right? They said, thank you so much for coming and praying with us. I said, no problem. So then I said to the children, I'm going to show you a little magic trick. And they went, really? And so I had brought paper with me, right? So I showed a couple, and they like so excited. Wait till we tell our friends. They're going to think we're so smart. And they got all excited about it, you know. And the mother, when I had to leave, the kids go, can you come back again? And I go, you want me to come back? Yeah, we have fun with you. And they showed me a dance they did, and I danced with them. You know, I just did whatever they wanted me to do. They did merry-go-round and whatever, so I played with them because I had an hour. And so then when I went up the hill, I turned around, I got up to the top, and I went like this. And they all went like this, you know. And when I got in the car, they said, get in the back seat, girl. You know, you're not going to sit up in front with us. So I said, oh, I'm fine. You didn't hug them, did you? I go, well, Dorothy, you don't go hug. You don't collect leprosy unless you touch the wound or you have intercourse. I mean, that's how you get it. And if you touch the wound or whatever, you'll get it. Okay, so, I mean, I knew I was safe, but, you know, they were a little suspicious of and then this was one of the guys that were with us. He was a minister, and I didn't have a camera, but they were taking pictures. And then the kids were all like so excited they wanted to follow me all the way to the car. And I said, you don't have to follow me all the way to the car. I can get in the car, it's okay. But they stood by and just waved, and you know, it was a very touching time for me, you know. And working with Mother Teresa in the House for the Dying, I've heard about that, but when I walked in there, and there's these cots, you know, lined up all along the walls, this side, that side. Anybody ever see Mother Teresa? Ever been there? No? Okay. Well, you'd go in here, and they would be like, these would be all beds lined up here and on that side. And then you go, and they're dying. You know, they have all kinds of ailments. And I just went up and I said, I will pray with you. So I went and prayed. They said, you know, you pray with each one. So I went and prayed with each one. And this one man said, can you pray that I can walk? And I go, you want to walk? And he goes, yeah. I said, can you get up? And he said, well, if you help me. I go, well, if I can help you, I'll help you get up. So I helped him up, and he was very frail. And he held onto my hand, and I said, okay, now just take, and I went like this, and he says, oh, I'm walking a little bit. I go, well, don't rush, because I don't want anything to happen to you. But he went back to the bed, and he goes, well, I made 5 steps. That's better, you know. I said, every day if you take 5 steps, maybe you'll get better. And I said, I will pray with you. So then I knelt by his bed and prayed with him. And he said, thank you so much for coming. And I go, it was my pleasure to be here. And then some of the nuns came up to me, and they said, take us back with you. We want to go back with you. I go, why? And they go, one girl said to me, my dad dropped me off here when I was 13 years old because human trafficking is very popular here. And so my dad didn't want me to be picked up for human trafficking. And so a lot of us girls are here because it's the safest place for us to be. That's why her order is like thousands of nuns, right? Because that's how they survive, right? And this one girl says, can you take me back, please? I want to go. And I said, honey, I can't take you away from what you're here for. But I said, if you want to come and work and go to college over there, if that's what you can do, you know, fine. And they said, okay. So they said, we want to stay in touch with you. And I said, sure, whatever. And when I got in the van, they all said, Dorothy, you can't, you know, I mean, I can't stay in touch with everybody that wants to stay in touch. But sometimes just to know that they could stay in touch with you gives them hope that you would be praying for them, like when I left the leper colony. So anyway, that's that. Okay, and that's how some of them looked. So trust me, it wasn't easy for me to look at all these faces and see some without noses, some with half their faces gone, and I couldn't hug them or touch them, right? So I would just go up and I'd go, nice to meet you, and like that, and they would just smile at me and thank you for coming, and so I can imagine what Jesus must have felt like being there with them. Okay, then we get the man with the withered hand. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus heals a man with a withered hand by telling him to stretch out his hand, and he does. Now, I've never seen anybody with a withered hand yet in my life, but I'm not saying there isn't any, but to have a withered hand, we need our hands to do what we have to do in life, to eat, to take care of people, and to take care of our homes. So it was powerful for Jesus to heal them. Then the woman with the issue of blood. The one on the bottom is the one in the chosen. And Jesus is on his way to heal this little girl that was supposedly be dead. And on his way, she wants to just touch his garment, and she knows if she can just touch him, she'll be healed. That is faith, to know that all you have to do is touch somebody and that you'll be healed. That's what we have to have is faith today. To believe when we pray that God does answer our prayers if we say, God, you know what we need. I mean, I like to tell him what I need. It's something I'm not supposed to do. My brother says, Dorothy, you don't tell God what to do. I go, I know. And I'll go, God, you know what you're supposed to do here, you know what you have to do here, And he probably goes, I got it, girl, I got it, And someone says, well, he's your husband. This is what the college students will say to me. Well, get your husband on this, because I tell him I'm married to Jesus, because one girl said, are you married? And I said, well, yeah, my husband is Jesus. He's out of this world. When I was working with the women in rehab, they go, are you married? And I go, well, you could probably say, I said, I married Jesus. They went, what the heck? And I go, well, he's out of this world, honey, and they would make jokes about it. So then they'd say, get your husband on this one. And the college students would always say to me, you can pray, but would you get your husband on this one? Because he's better at it. I go, sure, I'll get him whatever you want. And tell me, it's worked a lot of times for people. But see, suffering for 12, women will understand how painful this would be to have 12 years. You're bleeding for 12 years and nothing can be changed. I mean, and hope to be found in Jesus. Her response by her faith made her well. It illustrated that even in desperate situations, hope in Jesus can lead to a miracle. And that's what we have to do, is have hope that Jesus can do whatever we need have done. See. Oh, darn it. How do I go back? On the other side? Oh, yeah. Okay, then the daughter of Jairus. That's who he was going to heal, is the daughter of Jairus, when the woman who was bleeding for 13 years touched him and held him back. And that's why he was late. And when he got there to heal Jairus' daughter, the women were crying and said, well, she's already dead. She's already dead. And he said, no, she's just sleeping. And I can just see Jesus say, oh, she's just sleeping, whatever. And they were like, you don't have a clue what's happening here. But he raises her from the dead and makes Jairus very, very happy. Jairus was a leader in the church. Okay, this song. We walk by faith.
We walk by faith and not by sight. No gracious words we hear of him who spoke as none ere spoke, but we believe him near. We may not touch his hands and side, nor follow where he trod, yet in his promise we rejoice and cry, my Lord and God. Help then, O Lord,
The persistent widow. The Greek word for widow implies one who has no voice, no one on her side. And property typically was passed from father to son, leaving widows without their possessions or share of their husband's estate. They say that's why in the Catholic Church, they didn't allow priests to get married, because the women would inherit their money. And so they wanted it all. So that's why they said they can't get married. The persistent widow had no money, political power, or persuasive skills, and no one on her side to defend her rights. Her only recourse for survival and justice was to repeatedly bother the judge until she granted her request. And so she does that. And this one here, the persistent widow, she needed money to survive. She didn't give up until she got it. And this widow of Nain, that's her husband dies, but this is her son that died. And Jesus sees that her son died, and he said, she's not going to have anybody to take care of him. So they're walking in this funeral procession, and he walks up to him, and he's there dead, right? And he just says, like, hey, come on, back to life. You've got to take care of your mom. So, I mean, can you imagine if you were there to see that, your reaction? I mean, I would have been ecstatic. But Jesus saw her pain, and his heart went out to her. Now he can care for his mother with their inheritance. Then the crippled woman. Jesus saw a woman who had been bent over for 18 years. When I was over in the Holy Land, and I saw this woman, walking, she was really bent over. She was walking like this, and I said to my sister, I said, oh, I got to go over and pray with her. And my brother goes, Dorothy, go. And so I went over and I said, can I pray with you? And she said, what? Do you want to pray with me? Well, you're visiting, aren't you? I go, I'm visiting, but I want to pray with you because I like you, girl, She says, yes. So I prayed with her, and she smiled, and she said, you just made my day. You just made my day. And I said, I hope you get better, but just know that I'm going to be praying for you. She goes, that's fine. No, you have a great time here, and don't you worry about anything. You'll be safe here. I go, okay, I will. You're going to be better, and I'm going to be safe. So we left with happy, and then my brother just goes, that's Dorothy. She's got to go and talk to everybody. Now, you know the story about the centurion and the chosen. The change in that man in his real life, if you studied his real life, he did not have faith when he started to work in the chosen. And that's changed his life. So for this to happen, when he said to Jesus, just say but the word, you don't have to come, just say the word and I know. Because I'm a Roman and you're a Jew. You don't want to come into a Roman home to cure my son. And he goes, just say the word. That's faith. And he said the word and his sons were healed. And this is the look he had on his face. That face to me, that's one of my most favorite scenes in The Chosen, is watching this part here. To see the excitement of this guy and doing a lot of research on his life to know what he's been through in his own personal life, it just touched me deeply. Okay, then this is where Bartimaeus, the blind man, he was restored his sight and took care of that one right away. Then here, Jesus heals a man who was by the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. Now his brother said to him, well, they say that in The Chosen, but he says to him, if you talk about this Jesus guy, if this guy really exists, if he really is the man that you're talking about, I'll believe it when I see you walk. And he's ready to kill someone, right? And he sees his brother walking. He drops the sword and he goes running to his brother. And that changed his whole life. And for him, this guy here, I think he's looks at him like, and then what bothers me even more is that after he's healed and this guy can get up and walk, what happens to the Pharisees over there? He's picking up his thing, it's on Sunday. They're obsessed with rules. There's nothing, to me, if you're healed on a Sunday, I could care less what day it is if you're healed. Why do people get upset about something that's, it doesn't sound so stupid that, well, you healed on the Sabbath. Well, and I said this one time, I was talking to students, I said, what if I said, I was working in rehab, but I said to the girls, what if I said to you, I can't counsel you on Monday. That's my day off. And you want to, Monday is not my day. I said, what would you think? She goes, that wouldn't be you. I go, I could never do that. I could never say to someone, this is not the day I can't take care of you or listen to you or pray with you. Nothing is ever more important than the person who comes to me for help. And so I was thrilled when Jesus healed him. Then Lazarus being raised, you're dead for 4 days, and all of a sudden, and his sister's like, where were you? Like, you're our friend. Where were you? Why weren't you here, right? And then he comes in and brings their brother back to life. That scene was powerful. And I would have been excited if all of a sudden that my brother was dead for 4 days and comes back to life. I think I'd be a little excited to say that least, okay? And then this song here is powerful. And this is on forgiveness.
Thing on your mind today, it always goes to those who don't deserve. It's the opposite of how you feel when the pain they caused is just too real. Takes everything you have to say the word forgiveness. Forgiveness. In the face of all your pride, it moves away the mad inside. It's always anger's own worst enemy. Even when the jury and the judge say you got a right to hold a grudge, it's the whisper in your ear saying set it free. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. It'll clear the bitterness away. It can even set a prisoner free. There is no end to what its power can do. So let it go and be amazed by what you see through eyes of grace. The prisoner that it really frees is you. Forgiveness. Forgiveness.
Is there someone you need to forgive? I would like you to take a moment to close your eyes and say, take time now in your heart and ask Jesus to help you to forgive who you need to forgive. Just take a moment. Okay, whoever it is that you want to forgive in your heart, you just say you want to forgive, and we'll just pretend I say I want to forgive somebody, and I put on this piece of paper, and I said, I come to Jesus and said, I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this anger that I feel towards someone. And as it burns, I'm letting go of all that's bothering me, right? And as it burns, it's letting go. But notice there's some of this little black stuff here left, right? So I say I forgive you, but I go, remember when you did this? Remember when you did this? So we say we forgive, but we hold something else and we kind of remind them but when Jesus forgives, there's no ashes. You tell him you're sorry, and it's gone. No ashes. That's how Jesus forgives. And that's how we are to forgive. Got it? Yes. I got rid of it. Okay, now, and we'll close with this song. Let us allow Jesus into our lives and leave behind our selfishness, indifference, and closed attitudes to others. And this is our message now, that we have to be Jesus to the world and how we live our life. This is my favorite song. I love this song.
Little girl who is hungry, reach for something she can eat. A single mom doing all she can, finds herself out on the street. Will we see their need and hear their cries? Look at our watch and just walk on by? Or will we stop and take the time to be Jesus in their lives? We need to be lambs that roar. We need to be eagles that soar. We need to be salt, need to be light. We need to be Jesus to the world. We need to take love into the streets, be willing to turn the other cheek. We need to be strong, we need to be weak. We need to be Jesus. Jesus to the world. Jesus came with a message that would change the way we live. He showed us all by example what the heart of heaven is. He saw our need and he heard our cry, loved us so much that he gave his life, and taught us by his sacrifice how we should live our lives. We need to be lambs that roar.
Thank you for coming on this mission. Now, there's a woman that stopped me on my way in here and told me, do you want to share your experience or not? If you don't feel comfortable, the miracle that happened to her, come up here. You don't want to come? I won't pressure you. She stopped me and she said, you got to hear this. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I just met her. What is this, your second? You introduce yourself, honey.
So my name's Brittany. I've lived down the street for 5 years, and I've only made it a couple times. When I was about 24 years old, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was put on fentanyl for 6.5 years, paralyzed from the waist down, told I was never going to walk again. To the point where fentanyl got so strong into my body, I was told one by one, my organs were going to shut down and I was going to die. And I wasn't going to. Here I stand today.
I'm sorry, Brittany, we couldn't hear you over the motorcycles outside.
Here I am today, able to walk, not on any pain meds, depending on God, thanking Him every day for getting me through everything. He named my child. He saved me. He's the reason I'm here today. Now, I didn't plan on coming here tonight, but I wanted to. And I didn't know why I needed to come because everything told me, Brittany, you're fine at home, just stay here. I ordered dinner. I had dinner on the way, and I wasn't coming. And then I decided I'm going to walk down the street and I'm going to talk to her. Because there was a reason I was supposed to be there on the night of healing, when all God has done for me is healed me. There are people walking down the streets every day, wondering, why am I here? And here I stand not knowing still why I'm here. But I know that God saved me. And it's just begun because He's going to continue to save me and make my life better. And as bad as the world is today, I have hope. And that's what I missed yesterday. So even more reasoning as to why I'm here tonight, to share my story, that God saved me. And He really got me through everything. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but thanks for listening.
We love you. Did you want to say something? Okay, we have a lot of books, my books back there. And tonight, I'll take $1 off every book you want to buy today, okay? Because I don't want to ship them all back to me. I mean, I'm glad I didn't bring all of them because I wrote too many of them. But I'm so grateful you came tonight and that you've been here with me, and it means the world to me. Thank you, and I will continue to pray for you, and especially you, okay? And anybody who wants prayers, just let me know. I'll be there for you. God bless you.